Oh, it'd be helpful if I was unmuted. Hello, hello, hello. It is so good to see you again. Um, my dear friend, I'm so sorry. I do not want to pronounce your name wrong. I think that's very important, but it's so good to see you again. Would you mind telling me how to pronounce your name? Yeah,
Demetria.
Demetria. Okay. That's
Yes.
what I thought. I was like, I really want to get it right though. Well, so good to see you again, Talia. Lovely to meet you.
Nice to meet
Um,
you.
Lovely. I love your background as well.
Thanks. Can you remind me of your name since all I can see is Megan? I know she told us, but
Yes. And you know what? That would be helpful. So, yes, my name is Jewel Homan.
Jewel. Thank you.
Yeah, I always joke you got to use like the gross part of your throat to say my last name, but the first part is super easy. It's just like a gem. But I'm super happy to be here with y'all today. Um, Now, Megan told me before we get started, she gives y'all time. She said 10 minutes to go ahead and do some personal tracking. So I'm going to give y'all time to do that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about feeling connected to your people and to your business, and sharing real truth through your business. So we're going to talk about that, and then we're going to coach on anything and everything. So why don't you go ahead, get comfortable, and do your personal tracking. I'm going to put on a 10-minute timer right now, and I'll give y'all a 1-minute warning for that. But yeah, good luck. All right, y'all. We are counting down the seconds in the last minute here. So go ahead, wrap up, and then come back whenever you are ready. No rush. Okay. So my timer says that it's time. Right? If you need to take a second and keep writing, I get it. Get that thought out. That's all good. Okay. So what we're going to do is, again, we're going to be talking about connection to your people, to who you serve, and to your business. I'm so excited. I started doing it while y'all were doing your progress tracking, and it just lit me up all over again. But before we do that, and I can't remember if I introduced myself already. If I did, awesome. But just to do it again for good measure, my name is Jewel, and I help people with their self-image, and I help people create meaningful relationships through doing work on how to handle and hold their old attachment style while they create a new one, if you're familiar with attachment theory. It's really meaningful work. It's so fun. And I would love if everybody felt comfortable. And if you don't feel comfortable, you can go ahead and put it in the chat. But I would love to hear from everybody about what it is that y'all do. What is your business? Tell me a little bit about it. And whenever feels good, you can go ahead and unmute yourself, raise your hand. I'd love to hear a little bit about you and what you do. Yeah. Demetria.
Okay, I have to get myself unmuted. I'm a life coach for women. I help them create the life that they love. So really general life coaching, but I focus on helping them with their self-esteem or self-worth, their health, and their space, their personal environment. So those are my main pillars, but it really is general life coaching. But when I'm talking to my audience, I'm kind of focusing on those things.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. All right. And Talia?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Talia Lauren, and I am I say recovering lawyer, really trying to get out of doing lawyer things entirely. And I am a life coach for entrepreneurs. I help women connect to their purpose and power through entrepreneurship.
Awesome. So fun. Thank you for sharing. Now, Talia, were you here last time I was in this group?
No, I think you came to one of the Monday night work sessions, and I unfortunately have a scheduling conflict, so I have to miss those.
Okay, I was just wondering.
Yeah,
yeah, you look a little familiar, so I was just curious, but happy to have
I
you.
actually get that a lot. I must have one of those faces.
Girl, me too. It's funny you say that. Funny you say that. Me too. Okay, so it's really important to me to say names correctly, but so I apologize if I don't. But Vendaya, if you would love to introduce yourself in the chat, I know your camera's off. But if you can't and you're just like listening in, that's totally fine too. Same thing, Andrea, if you are able to introduce yourself. We're going to be talking about connection, and connection is really about both people feeling seen and heard and known. So I want to see and know and hear y'all. So if you're able to, awesome. Hi, Andrea.
Hi, my name is Andrea Munoz, and I'm a weight loss and life coach.
Yeah. Awesome. Can I ask what part of the world you're from?
So I'm about 30 miles south of Washington, D.C. So I'm in Virginia.
Gotcha. I thought I detected some accent, but
not really.
Maybe not. Well,
everyone. Sorry, I have my camera off today, but My name is Vindhya, and I'm based in Toronto, and I'm a freelance business and personal finance journalist here.
Awesome. Thank you for unmuting and sharing that. And oh my goodness, it already escaped my brain. Can you say your name one more time?
Vindhya.
Vindhya. Okay. Thank you so much. Awesome. Okay, so what we're going to be talking about today again is like connection. And what I like to do is I like to make connections super simple. And I really think it boils down to like these 3 buckets of belief, right? So connection is really about, oh, of course I picked the one marker that doesn't have any juice in it. Can we see this okay? Okay. Connection is really about our thoughts about others, our thoughts about ourselves, and our thoughts about relationships and socializing in general. Right? So to give some examples, like thoughts about relationships or socializing, a really, really common example, I'm sure some of y'all have thought it, I know I have, is sometimes people will think, oh, like I don't know anybody here. That's like a thought about socializing because they're there, they're at the event, they're like, I don't know anybody here, so this is going to be miserable, right? So there's a great example. Another thought that came up recently for a client was like, relationships always end badly for me, right? An example of our thoughts about others just might be, right, like, oh, they aren't interested, they don't care is a very common thought, like, oh, my friend doesn't care, my partner doesn't care. Thoughts about others in that way, thoughts about, oh, they don't understand, they won't understand. And then thoughts about ourselves are really, again, like our self-image, our self-esteem, right? Do we see ourselves as like a valuable partner, as a valuable friend? So we're going to be talking about these buckets today in terms of our business. And it's just like the same thing. Instead of relationships and socializing, really you're connecting to your people, yourself, through your business. Now that might entail, I know, obviously, Viking's about systems. So that might entail whatever system that you are connecting to your people through, that it can also go here. So that might also be like marketing or networking, right? So our thoughts about that as well. Now, when I was thinking about y'all and I was thinking about, being in business myself, what does it mean to connect to your business? I realized, oh, I haven't really thought about like the mission or the why of my business in a while. So and it's pretty clear with everybody's answer as well. Everybody here is aiming to contribute to like a better society, right? Everybody here, everybody present is wanting to help people, wanting to contribute, make an impact in their industry, right? Like, even if, like, I know Andrea at one point you were like, yeah, just like weight loss, but right, like Andrea has, I'm sure, no doubt, her own way of doing weight loss that she wants to contribute, right, to society, to the bigger mission of that, right? So what I want everybody here to do is I want you to think about, what is the contribution you are making through your business? What is your mission? And I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to give us like a few minutes to really write this down. But what is it? Like, out of, it doesn't matter, right? The stats, I know we were progress tracking, but like, why did we start doing this in the first place? What are we hoping to create in the long term? What is the mission? What is the contribution you are making through your business? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to set a timer for just like 3.5 minutes because it sounds good. All right, we got less than 30 seconds left. Go ahead and wrap up. All right. Yeah, it could be fun to get into the contribution, the meeting, the heart, like the spirit of your business, right? So fun. Now, if it feels good to you, I would love for you to go ahead and just put it in the chat for the sake of time and getting things moving. But what is your contribution? I would love to see and know and tap into. A lot of times, y'all, like that is the most underrated part of connection is just sharing. To see, to know, to hear each other. Yes. So Demetria says, empowering women to live a life they love, which in turn will allow them to show up in the world and do great things and lift each other's up. Yes. Yes. Very similar to mine. Yeah. Like if we have a more connected world, what can we do, right? What can be accomplished? We have a more securely attached world. What can we change? So good. We have more empowered women living life that they love, right? What does that create? So good. Why am I doing this? Okay. Vendia, right? Yes, that was right. What's that?
Oh, I was just saying that's correct.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you for your patience with me. So you said, as a freelance business journalist, my mission is to help clients translate their ideas and information into powerful stories and content. So good. Oh my goodness. I have some friends that are scientists. I'm always like, y'all need to get this out of here, right? They need people like you. Okay, to help women relieve themselves of food rules and reconnect their intuitive wellness. Yes, yes, I really believe in the world will be a better place when women have more power. My own journey with entrepreneurship has shown me that running my own business is the perfect vehicle for learning to step into my power. I want to help other women feel this way too. Yes, so much heart there, Talia. Thank you all for sharing. Okay, so as we're tapping into the heart and we're feeding off of each other's energy, one thing I'm always telling Megan is she is such a good friend because she shares with me. And when she shares like her struggles, and I learn more acceptance. And when she shares like her wins, I get more inspired. And that's what's happening here, right? Sharing our hearts, our missions in our business. And now that we're really tapped into that, I really want you to think about who you serve. Who you serve. Thinking about your client and why this really matters to them. So the question that I have for you, right? Because you might really know who you serve, and it sounds like a lot of you do, but why do you love serving them? Why do you love serving them? Right? This question is going to be really helpful for allowing us to go into like seeing them as like a whole person and the essence, and really connecting to them as who they are. Like, why do we love serving them? So I'm going to go ahead and rapid fire, go ahead, brain dump. I'm just going to give y'all 5 minutes to go through this. Why do you love serving them? And I'm going to write it again as well. All right, we are on our last 30 seconds here. Okay. Go ahead and finish your thought. All right. Okay. I would love to know, did anything come up that surprised y'all? Because something came up that surprised me. Anything come up? Anything you want to share? Yeah, Demetria.
So I feel like I was able to say it better. Like really, like I don't think I've said it this way before. So I said women in their 40s and 60s, because 40s through 60s, because often they've been socialized in a world of shoulds, which weigh them down. And I want to help them release those and show them how honoring that part of themselves that has that dream that doesn't look the way it's supposed to look is the best gift they can give to themselves and others. So I have not articulated it exactly that way before. And it feels really good. Like I feel like I can go tell a whole bunch of people. So, which I've a little bit struggled. Maybe I'm making it difficult with how to say it. So that really is, I think I like that message a lot.
Yes, awesome. And we can tell, we can feel it as you're talking about it. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing. Did anybody else come up with anything that really surprised them? Like lit up.
I did. Oh, I see Vindia is unmuted. I'll let her go first.
Oh, thank you, Talia. For me, as a freelance journalist, I'm usually there to kind of supplement whatever their staff is already doing. So for me, I think, especially over the last like 5 or 6 months, I enjoy serving my clients because it lets me feel a bit like a sponge where I'm kind of able to learn a lot from them, but also like fill in whatever gaps they have. So in one way, they're getting a lot from me, and I'm also learning a lot in the process.
How fun. How fun. That's what connection is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So good. Thank you for sharing.
I was kind of surprised that I actually had trouble putting this into words, so I'm glad you didn't make us write it, because I want to sit with it some more. But I realized that like when I witness a shift in my clients' energy, like I feel it, and it's like really, I don't know, like intoxicating in a good way. Like I just want more of that. So I feel like I physically benefit from my clients, like becoming more empowered, owning their own space, their own needs, and their desires. It's like the power of the collective increases and we all benefit from it.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for sharing. I'm just feeding off your energy. Andrea, if it feels good to you, you can share, but also you don't have to.
Yeah, I feel like I still need some playing around with it. I mean, I love, helping women because we spend so much of our time serving others and putting them as our priority in our lives. And so allowing them to have that power to put themselves and their wellness as a priority so that they can like better serve those in their lives more fully.
Yeah. Yeah, so good. Thank you for sharing. And yeah, this question is one that will sit with you. One of the best pieces of business advice I have ever received is like to fall in love with serving your person, right? Serving your people. All right, so this will sit with you and it'll transform, it'll grow, and there'll be new things. So to share with y'all, one thing that came up for me that I was like, wow, I never thought about them this way before. But I realized I love serving them because for people to be in my world and then to become my client, they have to really think their relationships. And I was thinking about it and I was like, wow, like the people that think that way, right? These people are down to earth and empathetic, like awesome humans, and they just have some blocks. And when I really help them remove those blocks, like in their relationships, it also helps them, like I'm always told, oh, I didn't realize how funny I was, right? Or I didn't realize like how playful I was. And I love serving these down to earth people to have that, right? So that was a really fun discovery. Okay, so we are connected to our business, we're connecting to our person. What I want us to do, it's a little bit different than connecting to ourselves as far as like, okay, who are we to like serve these people, which is like a great avenue to go down. But I was thinking about it and I was like, okay, what is a truth that you are scared to share with them that could help them? Okay, I don't know what happened. Welcome back. Brief intermission. Hope you had a good little stretch. I was just talking and I was like, wait, nobody's moved. So happy y'all are here. It didn't kick you off completely. But I was saying connection is really seeing each other in like a safe and satisfying way. And oftentimes when we are marketing or selling to people, I think we keep this expert hat on, right? And I think that's a really good authority to have. But sometimes I think I've noticed it with myself and with some of my colleagues, that we will just keep regurgitating like the same kind of things or things that feel safe to say. But often what is so transformational are the things that we are kind of afraid to say, like a truth that we are afraid to say and share. So to give you an example, one thing that I used to be really afraid to share with my audience, because I had the thought of, oh, well, if they know this, they're not going to want to buy from me. They're not going to want to work with me if I share this, right? And what that truth was I don't help people heal their social anxiety, and I don't think they actually need to heal it. That anxiety is never going anywhere. And what we really need to do is learn how to regulate ourselves and hold that social anxiety. So that way it's easier to walk into spaces and be ourselves. We have more desire to connect with people in our busy lives. But I was so afraid for so long to be like, oh, if I tell them, right, I could just keep saying, oh, I'll help you with your social anxiety. But if I tell them, hey, we're not going to like heal it and fix it, and you're never going to have social anxiety again, right? That was so scary to me. However, I have found in sharing that truth, that has really helped my people, because it helps them take the pressure off of, oh, I have this like big problem of social anxiety. that I need to solve, it helps them take that pressure off and be like, oh, okay, like maybe I can still create what I want and I don't need to fix this big thing, right? It's helped make connections and being yourself more doable rather than, oh, you have to go through this big thing and solve this big thing. It makes it more doable. And I find it really helps my current clients because instead of them having a moment 3 months in where they're like, oh man, like I was really having some social anxiety, right? Like, but I've been like, I'm sure some of y'all have heard it, but like, I backslid. It's like, no, I had a normal human emotion and I'm holding it and managing it and still creating what I want, right? And this normal human emotion doesn't have to go away. So it was super, super, super helpful to my people, but I was scared to say it for a while. So what I'm going to do now, this is kind of a hefty question, if you will. So I'm going to actually give us 10 minutes. Now, feel free to turn off your camera, to take a moment and stretch or walk around if it helps you think about it. But I really want you to think about what is a truth that you might be scared to say to your people, say to your marketing. Really like tap into what is helpful. Maybe you're like, oh, maybe I feel safer to say it to my current clients, but not not in marketing. Really tap into that. What is a truth that you are scared to say that could help them? And if you think of one, challenge yourself to think of a bunch. All right. So I'm going to give us 10 minutes to do that. I'm going to start the timer right now. All right. Just got a minute left, a little less than. So come on back. Okay. Alrighty. So actually, let me just shut the timer off so it doesn't beep at us super loud. Okay, how was it? How was that for everybody? Yeah, thought-provoking, challenging, fun. Okay. So we're definitely going to talk about this, but we're going to have more of a discussion with these next two questions, and then we'll jump into coaching. So with the truth or the truths that you wrote down, if somebody would like to share, I would love to hear, like, why can you trust your people to handle it? Right? So if I go back to that example of, oh, you're not going to cure yourself from social anxiety forever, I could trust my people to handle it. Right? It was helpful to think about how it helped them, but I can trust them to handle it because I can trust them to understand, right? Like that nuance of, oh, we're going to make it easier to work with and it's never going to go away. Right? And I'll make sure I put these other questions in the chat as well. But why can you trust them to handle it? And why can you trust yourself to say it, to deal with anything that happens? Right? Somebody jumps in, disagrees with you. Right? Why can you, and I'll put these in the chat box as well, but why can you trust them to handle it? Why can you trust you to handle how you say it, to handle any quote unquote aftermath? Okay. Does anybody feel comfortable sharing and talking about this out loud? Anybody feel compelled? Yeah. Okay. Talia, I'm not trying to pick on you, but I saw your head shaking. How's I put
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, I do. So the truth that I guess I feel, I don't know if afraid is quite the right if that exactly describes how I feel, but I think it's something that I haven't said. And one of the things is that I don't take responsibility for getting my clients to a particular result. I don't get them there. I hold the space for them to explore and find their own way. I take them to the trailhead, so to speak, and give them like snacks and a compass and teach them skills that will help them along the journey, but they have to walk it themselves. And the reason why I trust them to handle it is because I don't think my clients want to be the heroes on their own journey. Like they don't want to be rescued. They don't want me to do it for them. And similarly, like, why can I trust myself is because I don't want to be the rescuer. And so if people disagree with this, that's fine. That's just not my people. And so that'll help me select the people who are supposed to be working with me.
Yeah. Yes. So good. Definitely. Thank you so much for sharing. If you don't mind me asking, what do you think was coming up, right? Like you said, oh, it's not fear, but was there like some resistance? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that there is, like, I think it would have been fear at one point. But there is, like, I definitely identify in the past with having fallen into the rescuer role. Like I did that as a lawyer for sure. And so that like victim villain rescuer dynamic. I don't know if you're familiar with the drama triangle, but that's a dynamic I found myself in the past. And I think that really I expected that of myself, and my clients expected that of me. And it was really taxing and disempowering for me and disempowering for them and for me, probably.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think so. The reason why this is such a connection thing to do is because it involves showing such a deep part of ourselves and our business, like you just shared with us, Talia, and thank you for doing so, right? Like, oh, I used to be in this role of rescuer, but that's not what I'm going to do here. Sign me up, right? Like, oh, somebody's going to like say that and be like, oh, hey, that's not what we're doing. I'm not going to rescue you. But like, that is such a truth, and it allows, like, this is what connection really is like, okay, can I trust this other person to handle it? But if they can't, can I trust myself to stand by this, to hold myself in the uncomfortable feelings of it, to say this? That's what connection really is. And it's so powerful and it's so compelling. So yeah, thank you. You have something to add? I would love to hear it. No,
I was just unmuting so I could react to you, so you're not just talking to a blank wall.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. But yeah, so good. So good. Does anybody else have anything that they want to share? Anything else that they discovered, especially when you're thinking about why you trust them to handle it? Why can you trust yourself to handle it? Okay.
Okay, I'll go. Well, first of all, I want to say, Talia, I love that. Take them to the trailhead, give them snacks and a coffee. I'm like, that is amazing. That's genius. And I would love it if I was, if you describe that, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's what I want. Sign me up. So I think that's fantastic. So what came up for me that I would say hesitant to share is that because people are like, how did you find coaching? How did you get in coaching? And it was really through weight loss, through Corinne Crabtree and, that, but I've still not lost all my weight. Actually, I'm close to where I started, but I'm also happier than I was. I'm freer than I was, I've lost the mental weight and like all of that. But in like the story I'm telling myself, it's like, well, then they may think or say, or that coaching doesn't work. Like if that's why you came to it, then why have you not lost your weight? But I figured out how to live, be happy, do, and still have the weight, which I'm working on, but it's not the constant heaviness, so to speak. Like it doesn't weigh on, I don't have another way to say it, but it's not like that constant nagging that it used to be. It's like, okay, I need to do this for health. I need to do this for whatever. And I guess I trust that they can handle it because they may be going through the same thing. But I also think it would be very helpful for anybody to see that the weight's not the problem, it's the other stuff. So being brave enough to say that is, I think, going to be good for me and for them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And bold statement to say, but like, why do ultimately people want any result? To feel the way you are feeling.
Right. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So good. And again, we can see too in that example. So thank you so much for sharing. Like there's vulnerability in that, right? In sharing that truth. But in sharing that could be such a powerful message, right? And it's an opportunity for you to connect deeper to your people and to yourself because okay, I can handle saying this. Right?
Yes, very true.
Very true. Yeah, so good. I actually wanted to share another example for y'all. So one of my clients, this was something I coached her on recently, and she helps creatives like feel safer, and as she describes, more like emotionally wealthy in her life or in their lives. So that way they can create the things that they want. And she is selling a group on that now. And she was telling me, she was like, oh, I didn't hit the numbers of people that I wanted, right? And we talked about it, and she realized this was such an opportunity to share this truth of, oh, I didn't hit my numbers, right? Like I failed at creating this quote unquote thing that I want, but because I'm so good at practicing safety and emotional wealth, that I can hold this and keep going, right? And we talked about how that's such a powerful truth to share, because that's what people are so afraid of. They're afraid of their art not selling. They're afraid of something and not working out, right? And for her people to have that example of, oh, like this person didn't hit exactly what they want, right? Because that was the other part of it. She was like, I'm so excited about like the other people that are in the group. I just didn't sell it out. Right, that, and I can hold this so well, and I feel so safe in this failure. That's what they want, right? That is such a powerful truth to share. So I'm going to put those questions in the chat as well. But really, this is what connection is all about. I think this is what makes somebody have absolutely like magnetic marketing, is just going down to these things that we talked about today. I know it has radically changed my business since I stopped worrying about the algorithm and started thinking about connecting to my people. Who would have thought? But I want to open it up for coaching. So we can talk about any of these things, or if anything that came up for you, but we can also talk about, right, how you feel about connecting through marketing or networking or selling, whatever it might be, how any thoughts that you might have about your clients or your audience or about yourself. So I want to open it up for coaching. Does anybody have anything that they want to share?
Yeah, I'd like to share if that's okay.
Yeah.
So something I've been thinking a lot about in terms of what I do, especially, in journalism, it's a very fast changing industry, and I'm not sure if anyone else here has kind of thought about it in their business as well. It's kind of difficult for me to think in the long term, like what I'll be doing 5 or 10 years down the line. If I feel like I need to pivot my business and do other types of writing. So how do you kind of integrate pivots and changes in the broader industry, and even your life, for example, into your business for the long term?
Mm-hmm. So to repeat it back to you, just make sure I understand, like you said, how to plan for the long term with, even if unexpected pivots come up.
Yeah.
Okay, well, ultimately, if you don't mind me asking, right, like what do you ultimately want for yourself?
Yeah, I think that's something that I'm also kind of in the process of figuring out, which I think that makes it even more difficult. So yeah, I'm not sure. So like I'd love to know, like, what kinds of questions do you recommend like asking yourself to get to that point?
Yeah. Well, I think really there's like a thought here of like, oh, things might pivot, so I can't plan for the long term.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Yeah. So I think that's coming up first and foremost. So again, like things might come up, so I like can't prepare for the long term. I can't plan for the long term.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think you get out of thinking that? How does thinking that serve you?
I think it keeps me in a very short-term kind of perspective, because if I'm always anticipating, something's going to change, or a client relationship will end, then I've kind of already thought about that happening before it's even happened. And that's something me and Megan have talked extensively through, is like I have this like habit of always kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop, which can like hurt my business. I know that. But yeah, sorry, I don't know where I was going with that.
No, that was great. So, waiting for the other shoe to drop, how do you feel like that is hurting your business?
I think just from a mindset point of view, I come into work sometimes, feeling like demotivated if I know I'm not in it for the long term. One thing that I have done that's helped me is to kind of shift it to a more learning perspective. It's like, okay, even if this client relationship ends, they'll take something away from it, and so will I. But I just sometimes wonder if like there's more to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, here's what I'm thinking. You let me know what you think about this, okay? But for you, right? We're thinking, okay, this side of your triangle, let's just say, is long-term plan. And what does that mean to you? When you think of a long-term plan in general, what does it mean to you?
I think an ideal long-term plan would be for me to be able to fully support myself financially through my business, and then also have enough free time where I can, pick up and travel, and also make time for friends and family.
Yeah. Okay. And some of the thoughts that we were having about this long-term plan is, right, like I can't plan for the long term because short-term things might happen. Mm-hmm. But also, I really want you to hear yourself here. You are planning for the short term and just thinking about the short term because you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. Mm-hmm. So why would any brain ever that's wired to protect us, why would it be like, oh, I should just stop waiting for the shoe to drop? If it's like, no, that might be unsafe, right? Mm-hmm. Why plan for the long term if this might happen? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think naturally that's the response that I would have, but I think probably the key here is to kind of work around that.
Yes. So just like how we did with the exercise, and our friends here were so brave in sharing, right? Like, okay, why can I trust them to handle it? Why can I trust myself to handle it? Let me ask you this. So you said you noticed it in a few different ways where you were like, okay, like this client might end or this might happen. Right?
Yeah.
Why can you trust yourself to handle those things?
Why can I?
Yeah.
I think I've only been doing this for a year, not that long, but every time that I've had, a client relationship end, I've been able to replace that with something else, or something, always ends up coming along when I'm least expecting it, because, I've, obviously put in the work to produce good writing. So in that way, I do trust myself.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to actually repeat this back to you. So things, right? Like things have pivoted, if you will, already, and you've handled all of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do you think about that when I say it to you?
Yeah, I think hearing it from another person is different versus, you kind of experiencing those negative thoughts in your head. Because a lot of times I also feel like there are different sides of my brain, especially when operating a business. There's like the employee in me, and there's like the manager in me who's like, oh, you're not working hard enough. But the employee, wants to relax and have time off. So I feel like sometimes it's good to have like that outside perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, right. Like all of these things, whether that's the CEO, visionary, manager, employee, all of them in you have pivoted over and over again, and you're here, right? You've pivoted, like you've done it all. So what I'm thinking is for you to really access this like long-term plan, and really think about it, is that your brain needs to know you're going to be safe in the pivots, that you're going to handle the pivots. And you don't even have to know exactly, like when I started my business, I know for sure I did not expect it to go this route. Right? When I think about it. But just like how you have been handling these pivots, it's like, okay, when I think about long term, right, I can handle those too.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Yeah. I think that's a much better way of, thinking about it, and probably a lot more healthy too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Just knowing like, hey, I'm safe here, so I can think about these things. If we were to try that on even just for a second,
Mm-hmm.
right, of I can handle the pivots, I'm gonna figure them out. I have already, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now let's think about the long term. Does anything come up for you?
Not at the moment, no.
Not at the moment. Okay, that's fine. How are you feeling about this overall, though?
Um, I think I feel a little bit better. I think just even, verbalizing it sometimes and verbalizing the struggles I've been having, is helpful.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I agree. And what I want to offer for you to like think about, and you can do that literally if you are like walking to go fill up your coffee after this call. But what I want you to think about is like, okay, if I am safe in the long term, because I have been, right? I know I'm going to be good, right? Like just imagining that and what that might be like, then see what else can come up. Because oftentimes our brain won't want to go to intentional thinking. If it's like, hey, boo, but like this like thing over here, you need protecting from, right?
Yeah.
How does that feel to you?
So you said, kind of think long term, assuming that you're, safe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. I'll definitely have to give it some thought.
Yeah. Yeah. And feel free. I know Megan's recording this to sometimes when you're in, I know, a coaching space, you're just like so present. Mm-hmm. So I encourage you to come back and like re-listen to our conversation here and see what comes up for you then too.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for coming and for opening up and getting coaching. I'm sure it was valuable for all of us. Right? Yeah. So thank you so much. Anybody else have anything that they would like coaching on? As far as connection to your people, Yeah. How are we feeling? Feeling good? Yeah.
I'll always take coaching, but I got coached last week. And so I just wanted to like make sure everybody has time to pipe up if they want it.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. So,
All right.
yeah, what would you like coaching on, Talia?
I think that, well, let me just talk for a second because I don't have a real clear thing. I just finished the like online modules for a program that I'm doing. I've been coaching for a couple of years now, and I like just got to the point where I'm like ready to do a program. And now I have to sell it. And I'm structuring it as a membership. So it's like group, the coaching is in a group environment, but I'm not like opening and closing a group. I'm just like letting people come in. And I actually have one person in it already. One person in the membership, and then some of my one-on-one clients have been participating in group coaching too. So it's like already kind of going, but I've been really focused, like heads down, focused on putting together the curriculum. And I finished it this weekend. And now I'm like, shit. So that's kind of the headspace that I'm in. And I'm really aware of it. And I know I've got some like things that I want to do, some actions that I want to take. But I think kind of framing it through the lens of connection would be helpful for me.
Yeah.
So I don't really know where to go with that.
Yeah. Well,
let's get it.
Oh, this is good. This is good. So let's start with that. Oh shit. Tell me about the oh shit. What?
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna take off my sweater now because I'm sweating. I think it's like it's really easy to be in the space of like working on something. Like I have ideas in my head, I'm getting them out. Actually, it's not easy. I should give myself a little bit more credit than that. It was difficult, it was hard work, and I pushed through in a short period of time. But now I open myself up to like vulnerability of rejection, I guess, which is something that really, really kept me very stuck when I first started coaching. And even when I started my law firm, I felt really vulnerable to rejection. I got like a law firm client ghosted me when I first like restarted. I had already been in business. I got a job and I reopened my business, and this client ghosted me, and it like shut me down for 2 months. I like couldn't do anything. It was remarkable. And so I think my brain feels like there's like lots of patterns of that, and it's like this is a time where you have to be really vulnerable, and it's scary.
Yeah, vulnerable in what way?
I feel like I have to like I have the belief that to sell I have to be authentic, and that means putting myself out to the world, and I'm an introvert. I don't want to.
Yeah. Okay, so when we think about being vulnerable and putting yourself out to the world, what does that mean to you?
I think it means like sharing. There's like something about sharing something that I have produced that feels really difficult for me. Like I've actually gotten really good at sharing my story. Like that's something that feels comfortable to me. It didn't at first, but that's like when I first started coaching, I had been through divorce. And so like I was a family lawyer. So like divorce was something I had a lot of like personal and professional experience with. And so I talked about that a lot. And so that feels like I've done that, like sharing my story, like people know me. But now I have to like put this, like it's like more now my baby. Like, look, I made this. What do you think of it? And for some reason, maybe that's just a new level of vulnerability that I don't have as much experience with. And so it seems scarier, but maybe it's the same amount of scary that sharing my story was at one point.
Yeah, I think that's really good insight. But often, like, right, like, what does vulnerable mean? It means, right, like sharing something like rawly, okay, it means sharing something and putting yourself at quote unquote like risk.
Mm-hmm.
What is the risk here?
I guess the risk to me, it always comes down to like rejection, like social rejection. But like even as I say that, like, that's what, like, I know my brain, like my the part of me that like wants to be protected, like says that rejection is a problem. But the truer part of me, I guess, is like, no, that's fine. Like, you want to be rejected by the people who aren't for you. Like, that's good. That's like a sign that you're like doing something, is that like some people are going to love it and some people are not going to love it. And that means like you've taken a position that's interesting.
Yeah. Ooh, that's so good. You've taken a position that's interesting. So good. And let's just talk to that part of you that's like, hey, Talia, I need to make sure we're protected here, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's vulnerable. We're at risk of being rejected. I know this is so fun to think about, but what is the worst case scenario here? What is the worst rejection that your brain is very afraid of?
I think my brain is afraid that no one is going to buy.
Okay. And why is it afraid of that? I know it might seem obvious, but why is it afraid of that?
I think it's afraid that like, if this doesn't work, then I'm going to have to do something completely different. Like, I'll have to go back to going to court over people's kids, you know, something like that. Like I think that there is a fear in there still of like you have to do something miserable that no one else wants to do for money. Like, that's how I got into like practicing divorce law. It's like literally no other lawyer in my town wants to do it, so I'll do it. And now like I'm afraid that the business that like fills me with a sense of purpose and gives my life meaning isn't going to work. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to be wrong.
Yeah. So right now, right, like the circumstance, if you will, of no one buying, and then the thought of, oh, this means I have to go back and do things I don't want to do for money. Mm-hmm. Right. That circumstance of no one buying. Now, the way I understood your program is it's like a rolling thing.
Yeah.
So how would you, like, what would be the time limit here, right? Like, of no one buying. Yeah.
Well, like, for starters, someone already has bought. So it's like, I can't have zero. Like, I'm already beyond zero. And I mean, I think that's something like I have given a lot of thought to, is like, I'm not ever giving up on it. Like, there is no amount of time. And so it's like I'll just keep figuring out like what the problem is until it works. That's like the state of mind I'm in about this. Yeah. I don't have a real ticking clock. I have like that. It feels sort of ironic, and maybe this is something that like causes my imposter syndrome to flare up, but like I have a partner who's like supporting our household financially, like while I get this, like we made the decision that I'm going to stop practicing law, and which was my source of income, to get this going. And so it's like I'm in the place where like this business not make me financially independent right now. And I guess I feel a little bit of it like imposter syndrome about that and like want to rush through that like stage.
Yeah. Imposter syndrome in what way?
Just like one of the things that like I talk about is financial independence and like how important it is. And like, it's like feels like a paradox to be starting something that like hasn't started. I mean, it's like I have income from coaching and like I have made money coaching, but like it's in this space that I'm in right now is not sustaining.
Okay. So going back to that not a real circumstance of nobody buying, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's already bought. But then there would be that your brain's like, okay, if that happens, then I would think I'd have to go back to do things I don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then it sounds like that would also mean like I'm not financially independent, and kind of pushing on that a bit more.
Yeah.
Okay. So before we go into, well, actually, why do you talk about financial independence?
Because it's really important to me. Like it's something I've struggled with in the past. Really deeply struggled with. And I had to work really hard to overcome I just had a pattern of like being dependent on like first my husband and then my boyfriend, and like first my dad, then my husband, then my boyfriend, you know. And it's like I worked as a lawyer and I still had this like mindset of being dependent, you know. And so there was no circumstance that I could create. Like I went to law school, I practiced law, and I still had this mindset of being dependent. And it wasn't until I got into coaching that I was able to get through that. And so I just feel so strongly that women should know how to be financially independent. It's something I'm really passionate about. And for me, like being self-employed, like not being dependent on an employer, not being dependent on a partner is really, really important. And now I find myself like, to get this business up and running, I am financially dependent on a partner again. And it is different. It's like, it feels different than it was before. But I think it does weigh on me a little bit. Like it was a choice, and I still struggle with it.
Yeah. But because of what you're making it mean, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are you making it mean?
I guess I want to make it mean that like I like have no business like trying to help other people with this. In that situation.
Yeah. So no wonder why your brain's like, oh, I don't want to have to go and be authentic and like have no one buy and then be like, oh, I have no business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. When I mirror that back to you, what do you think about it?
Yeah, that feels true. It's like maybe there's something about that truth that I don't know if there's like value. Well, I don't know. That feels like something I don't want my like clients to know. It's like, let's be strong, independent women, and my partner is helping me become a strong, independent woman.
Mm-hmm.
Feels gross.
Yeah. What if there was value in that? If you had to look for it, what would it be?
I think that the reason it feels different to me this time is because like in the past it was just a pattern. It was like an archetype. It was like damsel in distress, and like we just fell into that. But this time, like I was working, I was financially independent, and I like asked my partner for help. Like I asked him if he would be willing to cover our expenses so I could stop doing the thing that drained my soul and like really give all of my attention to this business. And he you know, has been really supportive of that. And so it's like in the past, I think I would have in the past, I did feel like I manipulated my way into that because I didn't know how to be any other way. But this time I asked for help and it was actually really difficult. And I think asking for help and seeking support from people that we trust is a valuable skill.
Yeah, especially when it comes to empowering women. Am I right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is it possible that somebody in your audience needs to hear, hey, you can ask for help and it doesn't mean that you are incapable of being financially independent?
Yeah, probably.
What do you think about that?
That sounds good. I'm going to write that down.
As you're writing it down, I would love to hear, what do you think? What do you think about that? What comes up for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's I think previously, in the previous cycle I was in, I was financially independent, but in a really braced and protective way, I have to do this and I can't be vulnerable. And now I feel like I'm setting myself up to have greater financial success by asking for help. And so I think that opening up and being willing to accept help will ultimately make me more powerful. But I have to be in this place of being vulnerable and needing help in order to get there.
Yeah. And there's strength in that, right? So in different words, to me, it sounds like there's a difference between asking for financial help and financial dependence.
Yeah, that's good.
Right. And then I think those questions of why can you trust your people to handle that? Why can you trust yourself to handle that really apply here too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Asking for help is empowered.
Yeah. And how many women don't?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So let's tie this back to, I want you to think about, and we didn't even get to a quote unquote clean circumstance, but nobody buying. Right? What is the circumstance there? What is it where your brain's okay, is it after a year? Is it right? When is it no new sales?
Yeah, I don't know, because I guess I think about I don't really believe that no one's gonna buy. I don't think. I think it's not as many people might buy initially, but I just think that, I don't know. I can't quite get myself to believe that no one is going to buy at this point.
Yeah. And how fun, and all we did, right, was make sharing truth safer. It's already impacted your belief.
Yeah, totally. Thank you.
Yeah, I also want to offer to you, Talia, that it can be helpful to know, okay, if it gets to that quote unquote place, right, where I didn't get as many sales as I want, I'd be curious on what the C is there that your brain is really oh, then I would make it mean things.
Yeah.
Because sometimes there's a barometer inside of us.
Yeah, I guess there is like I think about how many people I need to have in this program in order to make the like monthly income that I want.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I need to get to like a minimum of 20 people before I'm kind of like meeting what feels like a minimum threshold for me. And so I think that, and I know that's going to be the hardest part, like getting from 1 to 20. I think beyond that, it probably starts to like create its own momentum, but like, yeah, I guess 20, let's say if it wasn't to 20 in like 2 months,
Okay.
that might be where I start to like feel worried.
Yeah.
But then if I think about like, if a month from now there's like 10 or 12 people in there, that also sounds really exciting. So
yeah, so good. I love it.
Yeah.
Again, belief has already been impacted.
Mm-hmm.
What I want to offer too, again, like kind of what we talked about with Vendia, is safety again, right?
Yeah.
This is Vendia might be helpful too to like see this in Talia's example. Talia, if you don't, quote unquote, in 2 months have 20 people, right? How can you feel safe to hold that and pivot? Kind of like what we were talking about with Vendia. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. I think that like I would just have to trust myself to know why, like what, either it's working, like maybe I have, 15 people and it's just like I got the time wrong, or it feels like it's not working. And I would have to trust myself to know what I need to do differently. And I think I can know that. I think I can know that.
Yeah. Yeah. Does Megan, I'm sure she does, but does she talk to y'all about evaluating?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's just, right, an opportunity to evaluate.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, what's behind that is trusting yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, I know what to pivot here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And why can you trust yourself to do that?
Because I think looking back on my past experience with business, like every time I've like felt stuck and confused, I actually have known the answer. I just have like not wanted to know the answer for some reason. And so I feel like I'm much better at recognizing that now. Like when I'm feeling stuck or confused, like I know the answer and I just like will need to implement it.
Yes. Okay. And this, I love this because everything is connected. Everything's the same and different and awesome. That is just another example of making truth safer.
Mm-hmm.
And we just did that a bunch of times in this call.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Oh,
yeah.
okay. Yeah. Like, all right, let's make some truth safer of like, okay, what do I think here?
That's really good.
Yeah. Okay. How are you feeling?
Good. Thank you.
Awesome. This was super valuable. And I'm sure for everybody else as well. So thank you for coming and getting coached. Congratulations on your person.
Thank you.
Oh, so good. Okay, so we have 15 minutes on the clock here. Does anybody else have anything? Did anything come up for y'all that you would like coaching on? We are here for you. Okay. Okay. Well, I am glad that we're feeling awesome. One thing that I would like to do is because one thing that I know you guys tracked your progress, or I know y'all tracked your progress. today, right? We spent some time doing that based on what we talked about today with like connecting to your people. What is one direction you're going to go in after you leave the call? So in other words, right, like what is one thing you're going to focus on or implement this week? And it doesn't have to be related to today, right? But what's one thing that you are going to do, maybe even with just the rest of your Tuesday? Yeah.
I'm going to be brave and go share my truths about how I start, or just talk more about weight loss, and that I'm not all the way there yet, but I'm feeling better about the whole situation. I think that would really be something good for my audience to hear. And then it's given me some ideas about maybe doing like a challenge in my group, or having them work through it together or something like that. So I'm gonna step up.
Yes. And we commend you and we thank you for sharing that. Again, vulnerable, right? Like sharing truth is the most connected, beautiful, like we're getting to the heart and like the essence of somebody and ourselves. And like we talked about today, is vulnerable as shit. Yeah. So good. Thank you, Demetria, for sharing that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else want to share what direction they're going in after today? Okay. All right. Looks like we are feeling complete. I will not hold you to the time. I want you all to go ahead and use these 12 minutes to do what feels good to you and for your business. Thank you so much for coming and sharing, and sharing really your truth with all of us and now your people. It was such a pleasure. The questions that we talked about today, just as like a recap, but I'll make sure I send them to Megan as well, right? Is like, what is the contribution that your business is making, right? What contribution are you making? Why do you love serving your people? And then what is the truth that you might be, and right, we talked about too, like scared, resistant, hesitant. What is the truth, right? That your brain's like, I don't know if I want to share this. And it can also be helpful to ask, why could that help them? Sharing that truth. Why can you trust them to handle it? And why can you trust you to handle it? So I will make sure I send Megan those questions as well. But again, thank you so much. I would love for y'all to stay in touch and let me know how this goes. So I'll also send Megan my contact information. But if anything comes up, any breakthroughs, if you're sharing your truth, I would love to witness it. So Demetria, when you write about that in any way, I would love to hear if you would like to share. And same thing with you, Talia. So I will send that your way. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Much love.
Thanks, Jill. Bye.